They hung black folks in public to say, this is a warning, don't you do this, don't you try this. So they make Colin lose his job and never play again because it's a public hanging. All right, since we're talking about sports, I have to bring up, I want y'all to truth with me, tell your real truth. Colin Kaepernick was in the news recently because he came out with a statement that said he would really appreciate an opportunity to try out for the Jets or something like that. And I saw it on my the practice team.
Open letter.
So I saw it on my Facebook today, and by the time I got on it, there were a lot of people, but I'm telling you, all the white men. See, that's why I guess protesting doesn't pay, and they're going off, right? And I don't usually try to get in fights with people, but I had to get into a fight with people today because they were saying he was begging to get back, and I was like, that's first of all, was not begging.
No.
And they were like, well, why does he want to get back? I said, he loves the freaking game.
The sport, right.
He plays football because he loved it, and he trained his whole life to play it. Yeah, y'all have any thoughts? Kaepernick reminds me of Dion in that he was never arrogant, but he dared to go against a system.
That's what I like about it. Because so my thought is, I feel like for you to be someone that has the entire world against you, to some extent, there has to be some level of humility for you to even come back and try. To still get back in the game. The game that people hate you for, the game that people don't want you to play, the game that people don't want you to benefit from. But he still took the liberty to ask and to go that particular route. So in my perspective, I feel like we should give him some credit on that because there's a humility that has to come with that.
Oh, you understand? And I love me some Colin Kaepernick.
Listen, I love that man. I think that his effort has been a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
I feel like it has changed.
The sacrifice he made.
Yes.
I mean, the sacrifice he made. He gave up his passion.
He gave up his passion, and now he's asking to come back.
Security.
What's wrong with that?
But this is what's interesting to me is that so what I tell people is, you know, if you know your history, all that was a public hanging. They hung black folks in public to say, this is a warning, don't you do this, don't you try this. So they make Colin lose his job and never play again because it was a public hanging. And so when I was reading what these white men were commenting, they basically were like, see, that's what you get. You just need to shut up and play, like they told LeBron.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you try to stick up for your people. But I had to tell them, I said, I know you wanted his life to be terrible. But this man is going to be in history books.
Yep.
He's in 2 museums that I've seen. I don't know where else he is. I said, he's on the right side of history. I said, he is a sought after speaker that makes tons of money. He is financially stable. He's married. He has a new child. Life has gone on. Does he miss playing football?
Yeah,
of course he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
However, butter up.
Butter up.
Right. Butter up. Your brother's doing all right. He's doing all right. And he is more known now than he ever would have been as a quarterback for the 49ers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for
Now
sure.
here's the thing too. This kind of segues into the conversation that we were having earlier talk about the groupthink and whatnot. So that groupthink would be a segue into making a decision, making an action, right? And so you do have a lot of black people. Well, I guess think about it. You have people who would be on the side of shut up and dribble and be like, all right, I'll just shut up and dribble.
There's a lot of black people who are scared.
Yes, that's the fear. That's the fear factor of it.
One of the first blogs
Yes.
I ever wrote was, not everybody got off the bus. You know, we look back at the civil rights movement, it looks so great. But it's only something like 40% of people stopped riding.
Because how many people?
It was 60%.
How many people was at home?
But some people say, I'm about to get on this bus.
I got to make this, I got these
and
bills
I'm
to
about
pay.
to get this job. And that's in every situation. Now, I was sad that more people didn't protest with Kaepernick, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing, right? One, I read about the letter yesterday, and I do agree that the humility that it took to submit yourself basically at the mercy
and the boldness and the
people,
confidence
that he did that. So I greatly respect that. What pains me is, people boycotted the NFL, right? Supposedly that season, right?
I did. I did for a long time.
But here we are right back here. So I do fail in some cases to see I wanted the impact to be so much greater.
Yes.
Because we know that 71% of the NFL are black men. We know that they have the power. The same way we see this writer's strike and how it has, right? They 146 days they held out, right?
Yes.
And they got their contract, and now SAG is probably going to be very close behind that. I wanted the players to do the same thing because they had the power.
That's why I couldn't watch. It just wasn't because of the stand. I was so disappointed in my brothers. I love them because I understand. Unfortunately,
they worked their whole life too to be there. They worked
their whole lives to be there, but also black people. When we have a professional player, we think that person is a billionaire, and you got 17 people that are dependent on you to support them. Sadly, and I keep trying to explain to people, we're the poor people in the system, right? The players are the poorest people. You do know that there's owners who this is like a game. It's like in NFL 2000 or NBA 2000, like they own it as a hobby.
Yeah, this is not their
There's people who
point.
own the stadiums that they have it in their people's names, like. An average football player plays, what is it, not even 3 years.
35
2.5
years.
years.
And they retire and they're broke
$300,000.
They're broke within 5 years.
And they're broke because everybody is waiting for that one person to make it and talking about, can you pay my electricity?
And their body is 10 years
I was about
older.
to say they're broke financially and physically and mentally. They're broken all the way across the board.
Isn't it the same thing we just said? There's not a generation that is willing to sacrifice, because again, they all are saying individually, I've been playing football since I was 5 years old. This is my dream. I've been dreaming about this since I was.
But if we had done it for 1 year at 71%.
I agree.
And that's what it depressed me so bad, because I said, if we can't stand up here.
That's what made, and it was so public, right? I mean, that was one of the biggest things that we ever were going to be able to take, right? Yeah, we can boycott going to the movies, or we can boycott buying this brand of whatever, but everyone in the world was going to see this. And when it didn't happen, I was deflated. I was deflated for Kaepernick.
It was a very deflating experience.
It
was a very deflating experience.
And I don't mean to turn this into another argument, but I really believe that when we see black women in action, black women are more willing to do things like that than black men are.
I agree. Like
for the greater good of our community, I think that black women potentially would have been more impactful. Now, we don't play football. And maybe there are other ways that we can contribute and do things like that.
I think it was what people had to give up. And just as the players love to play football, football is so ingrained in people.
It is,
especially down south.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what makes it
that love. They can't let it go.
But that's why we're so powerful.
That's why we really needed to do it.
But that's why there is no Sunday night football.
That's why we needed to do it.
I mean, it would have been. But
people couldn't hold out.
We held the power. We had the power.
It was if any other place we had the power. So it was such a missed opportunity and so depressing. I get it. I do have sympathy for the players.
I do too.
But it hurt. That one hurt.
I wanted us all to unite on that one.
To me,
but it did shine a light on the companies that were. I don't know. I still will not buy Under Armour.
I don't buy Papa John's pizza.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't buy Papa John's either.
There is long-lasting.
I don't.
There's an economic thing there.
But what I will say is, I love Colin. Only thing I wish he would do, I wish he would just decide it's done.
I do, but I have great empathy for him.
I have great empathy
for
knowing this is your dream. This is your dream.
Start a local league with your friends and play football on Saturdays. Like I think they're not going to let him in.
I was thinking that too. I was thinking about the owner of the Jets, and I was like, what would motivate the owner of the Jets to even give him a try? Because that's going to put him outside of the circle, right?
Exactly.
So what cost is he willing? Is the owners or owners are they willing to pay to give him an opportunity? And I don't think he's worth it for them.
Well, here's the thing too.
How many white men have you known that have shown serious sympathy for black men and our causes? I'm being honest.
Not a lot.
Like for real. Like in a place.
I mean, it's all about money. Right? And
That's what I said. What is it going to cost
them?
them?
Practice team. He ain't losing any money.
Well, but the backlash that New York Jets would get. I mean, the hate that they were getting on posts. Can you imagine the boycotts that are going to be at their game? The hate is so real.
I think it is.
I just don't think they want the smoke. They want to play, make their money.
Well, that shows weakness to me, and that's what I've been trying.
It definitely shows weakness. I think that I feel like a lot of these people who are over this decision that he's trying to make. He's trying to get back in, and the people that have the power, per se. There very well could be people or owners who feel that Colin could be a good asset to my team. Yes. But because of the greater powers that be, and because of
the public hanging.
Because I don't want to be a part of that. Yeah. So I can't accept him.
Well, that's why I said, what price are they willing to pay? They're not willing to give up anything. They're not willing to.
So let me ask you this. This is my final question. If Colin were here doing some truthing with us, what do you think his truth would be? Like, do you think that he would be happy with the stand he took? Like, what do you think his truth would be, just briefly?
I think he would have regret.
You think he'd regret it?
Yeah, I think that because he just didn't get the support and how it turned out for him, I think he probably thinks that he could have done it a different way.
Okay.
I think there's always a different way, right? My thought is that Colin would feel solidified in his decision if he were to have the perspective of not necessarily putting money over his passion. Now, if you go into something and I'm passionate about football, and so now I got this huge price tag over football, but I have this effort that can threaten football. If you have a presence of, if you're like, okay, I'm putting this money over this situation over here, over my passion, then you'll go that way, you'll go to the money. But I feel like him making the decision to even go onto one knee in the first place shows where his passion lies. I feel like him trying to get back into football is only him trying to further live his dream of being passionate, but I feel like he also has a passion towards the community and what is important as far as his message. I wouldn't feel like he has regrets. I feel like Colin seems to be pretty dead set into how he has led his movement. I would feel like Colin would have regret over the fact that more black people did not follow behind him. Yes, that's where I feel like his regret would come in.
If he was truthing right now, what would you think he would say? I said, you got to truth with me now, Colin. Yeah. What would you? How do you feel about what you did?
I think ultimately, all of us know that in our heart of hearts and in his heart of hearts, he knows that he did the right thing. He definitely did the right thing. I think from a humanistic standpoint, however, you always are going to be potentially, you're going to be looking at the what ifs.
Yes.
What if I had not gotten on a knee? What if I had gotten the support that I anticipated that I was going to get? And or what if if all of that had happened and I got another chance in the NFL? And I think that's the dichotomy of life always anyhow, right? But
you always have to give up something for something.
As you said, he is on the right side of history. He's definitely on the right side of history, but there is always...
But he lost his passion.
I think he doesn't have regret. I think that he is proud of himself. He has a Know Your Rights camp that is huge, that continues to grow. So what he is doing now, I said, no one, truthfully, he probably would have played at best one more year in the NFL. Let's just call it it is. He was not
top of the line.
He was not having the best time. And what he's doing now is so big. He literally, you walk through the National African American Museum, and Colin Kaepernick is in there. He is going to be in history books, and he has this Know Your Rights camp that he runs year round. The impact he has on this world,
is far greater.
It's far greater because we would not know his name. None of us would know his name probably if he had just been a quarterback for the 49ers or whoever. So I believe that while he misses football, I believe that he is proud of himself.
He should be.
Because I think, because he does get the affirmations from because it's continued. Well, thank y'all for choosing with me about Colin Kaepernick's truth that we're guessing on. Colin Kaepernick, if you're out there, come truth with Randi. Yes. But we're proud of you.
Yes.
We're so proud of you, and we're grateful.